Good morning, what is going on? In this video we are going to make a heavy duty pouch for a set of police handcuffs. If you've not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you get any value from the video, please give me a like. And if you got anything to add, leave me a comment down below. Let's get started. So, I'm no sewing expert by any means, but in order to make a pouch for these handcuffs, I need to know how big they are. So what I've done is I've laid them down here on my measuring mat and we're gonna get a rough dimension. So these are coming at 4 inches by 3 inches long. So when we do our little design here, we have to take that into consideration. So I'm only going to be making 2 of these, so I've not really put too much effort into my design. As you can see here, I've just put it on a little scrap piece of paper. So the material that we're going to use for this project is 1000 denier Cordura nylon. It's actually one of my favorite materials to use. It's very durable, water resistant-ish, and flexible. I still have projects from about 5 years ago that I made out of this batch of material, and they're still going strong. As I said, I'm making 2 of these, so what's going to happen is these 2 long strips of material are going to be folded in half, stitched at the edges, and then wrapped around the handcuffs. So this is just a quick example of what it's going to look like. For any gear nerds out there, these handcuffs are Smith & Wesson Model 100s, but they are the M&P version with the lever lock, double locking system on them. But this method of building a pouch can be used for any gear pretty much, including cell phones and flashlights and whatnot. So this pouch is going to be secured by Velcro. We're going to stitch on the Velcro before we fold the pouch in half so that you don't see the bobbin thread sticking out over the flap. When I stitch pieces of Velcro to gear, what I do is I stitch around the perimeter of it and then I stitch an X into it. And the reason I do that is when you pull the 2 pieces of Velcro apart, the hook and the loop, it creates less of a void between the materials. The thread that I'm using for this project, I believe, is number 70 bonded nylon thread. I think I've had this sitting around for a while, so it's good to use it for something. So the next thing to do is to fold our entire project in half and then stitch around the edge. I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance for this. Make sure not to stitch the open edge shut, so you're just going to do 3 sides because we're going to have to be able to turn this entire project inside out. If I was sewing fabric, I'd probably do a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but where I'm using like a heavy duty nylon, I find a 1/4 inch works fine and grabs enough material. But there's not really a solid rule for it. Whenever I'm doing little projects like this, I like to use mini bulldog clips. It just helps to keep everything in place so it doesn't shift on you. Sometimes I use fabric glue, but for this project with the fold, it just makes sense to use bulldog clips. So what I'm doing on this project is I'm just folding in the 2 top corners into like triangles almost. It doesn't take too much extra effort to do, and the finished result just makes your product look a lot better. Might take a couple of minutes to get everything into place, but overall it's worth it. For the pull tab, it's pretty much just a 1 inch wide by 3 inch long piece of nylon folded in half. What we're going to have to do is actually put a little slice in our project and slide it in and then stitch over it. So we're just going to stitch around the perimeter again. When we get to the pull tab, we're going to do a back stitch and double up on it. Wherever there's something that's actually going to bear some load, I like to put extra stitches in it. On the second handcuff pouch I made, I actually forgot to stick this tab into it. As for the seam allowance for this, I don't really have one. If you notice, what I do is I use these skinny feet on my machine all the time. And I'm just going to use that skinny foot as a reference to get that as close to the edge as possible. The closer to the edge that you stitch on this type of fold, the better it's going to look. So this is what it kind of should look like once you got your stitching in. So as for the open edge, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a piece of 1 inch nylon, fold it in half and stitch over it. This part of the gear is going to be taking a lot of wear and tear with the handcuffs going in and out all the time, so it's probably better to have a more heavy duty material at this point. If you noticed on my little crappy blueprint there, how the two top edges actually flare out, that's so that when everything's all folded, the front portion of the pouch actually has an arch in it and comes out, and that just gives you a lot extra space to actually put things in the pouch. So it's time to install the last piece of Velcro. This piece of Velcro we can do after we've folded everything, because you're not going to be able to see the bobbin thread from outside the pouch. The bobbin thread is just going to show on the inside, which isn't a big deal. It's not going to make the product look crappy or nothing. So it's starting to look somewhat like a handcuff pouch. You can kind of see it's taking shape. There's a couple more stitches, and we got to get the back piece that's going to connect it to a police duty belt. So I've drew a bunch of dots on the back of it. This is to line up the Velcro belt loop that I'm going to stitch on in a second. As for the dots, don't worry, they make sense to me. Okay, that's all that matters. So this Velcro loop that we're stitching on right now is so that you can put this handcuff pouch on the belt without taking all the other duty gear off the belt to put it on, if that makes any sense. So it's time for our last two stitches. So depending on how industrial your machine is, you might have to crank the hand wheel by hand, because there's just so many layers of heavy duty fabric here, folded over and folded, and then nylon on top of it, and sometimes if your machine's not equipped for that, it's going to be a little tricky. So the first side you stitch is going to be easier than the second side you stitch. So that arch that we designed into the product is for the other side, you're going to have to actually just manipulate the other side into place, because that arch is going to want to push it out. Okay, so this is our finished product. So fits the handcuffs nice. If I was to do it again, I'd probably design it an extra ½ inch bigger, but it doesn't really matter. It looks like pretty much something you'd get from the store, but I believe I'm probably using better materials and better Velcro, better thread. My estimates is that it probably cost $1.50 to make. So if you got any value from this video, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and just watch my videos, because I need a lot more watch time. Thank you and take care. See ya.